So when I speak to the younger generation, one of my biggest advices to them is learn how to speak.
In communication training, the one most important thing is speak in frameworks. Have a framework in mind. When somebody asks you a question, choose a couple of frameworks, because if you don't, what happens is you go off on tangents. And then suddenly you're like so off course and you're like, what was the question again?
Yeah, I've done that plenty of times.
Oh, yeah. We all do it in wake moments.
What would be the best recommendation, in your opinion, to help people practice that? Like for me, it's meditation.
If you have a habit of waking up in the morning and looking at your phone to see what email messages, that's the wrong thing to do. Sitting quietly by yourself, doing breath work is good. But what I did a lot during the early years, I watch only inspirational, spiritual videos and talks. I sit for 2 hours. I love listening to inspirational stuff. I keep negativity out. So your brain is primed for that. So I say the simplest thing you do, wake up, do not pick up your phone to read messages. Just sit with positive stuff and sit quietly.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show, your go-to for real estate, business, health, and family insight. I'm Chris Salerno, CEO of QC Capital. Each episode, we explore the latest trends and expert advice from industry leaders. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or seeking balance, this show provides an inspiration you need. Join us and elevate your game on the Chris Salerno Show.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show. I'm your host, Chris Salerno. Excited to have a new friend, Vidya, on the show. She's been in Charlotte for 10 years. We were chatting a little before we went live on Charlotte, life, and everything. So her and I definitely see in the same vision, and I'm excited to have everyone listen to her background and what she does in the coaching industry and her mindset and her relationships that she can build and cultivate and help other people do that to build their business. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, most definitely. Well, I enjoyed the brief conversations that we had prior to this. I want to have the listeners hear a little more about your background and how did you get to where you are today?
It's a long story, but I'll cut it short.
Well, hey, we got some time.
If my accent is a dead giveaway, so I'm originally from India. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in a typical traditional Indian household. In a very loving family, and in typical Indian households, middle-class family, education is really stressed.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, so my dad kept on it, so I came to the U.S. with a master's degree because, there was no other choice for me. I had to,
you had to
study, and education and ambition was really pushed. My dad was very aspirational for his children. Yeah. So he would, at dinner table conversations, he would always throw in an idea as to what I will be, So at those days, I should think some of his comments were lame, and but
it's funny how that works. I have a 5-year-old going on 25.
Right.
And I remember when I was his age, and I would think that same thing. Oh, why are we doing this, Mom and Dad? And then now that I'm older, I'm like, damn, I'm glad they did that. And so, when you're younger, you're like, oh, I'm sitting at a table, dinner time, why are you asking me these questions? But now you look back and you appreciate it.
Right. And I tell you, that kind of an upbringing also influenced me to do that with my children.
Yeah, it does.
And it's just like you got to give them something to aspire for.
Yeah.
And, talk about grades and, all kinds of things that, they realize there's no shortcut to success. There's a lot of hard work and focus and strategy. So that's my story. So with that master's degree, I came to New York. My first job was with a large Fortune 500, American Express those days. So my degree helped me, so I didn't have to struggle. I got a job pretty easily.
Oh, good.
And then started my corporate life. And
you got to love the corporate world.
I know. The early years, I was just such a novice. I was just so happy to have friends and coworkers. And
just have a job. And
have a job, a paycheck. And I was newly married. I was just living the best life. Yeah. And, there was a term, I guess it's still used. It's called double income, no kids for the longest time. And we had a good time in New York City. Loved New York. Had lots of friends.
Oh, and that's the best. What year was that?
1989.
Oh, that was the best time to live in New York too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know my husband would give me safety measures like if you're coming late, take the middle car of the subway and all that stuff. We didn't own a car, but life was really, really good. So corporate life was good. I was learning a lot, and I was acclimating to a country that was foreign to me. Right. So while I knew English when I came here, it was very obvious that my accent would trip people up,
Yeah.
And during those early days, I would speak and I was confident. I was raised to be confident. But then over the years, I'll tell you, confidence got chipped away. When you have setbacks, you don't feel so good about yourself.
Oh, I know.
So I learned that sometimes when I spoke, people would kindly say things like, "Can you just say that again?"
I'm going to pause you real quick.
Yes.
You made a very important statement, and entrepreneurs feel it every single day, is you have setbacks, and it chips away at your confidence. But looking at you right now, you are an extremely confident individual. Not only that, you bring the energy of confidence. How would one build that mindset back, after being chipped away? For example, myself, I had a pleasure having dinner with a woman, Cody Sanchez, very big social media businesswoman. I was in New York, and we were talking about something. She says, "Chris, how do you wind down and really work under high pressure?" I said, "I meditate." I said, "In the mornings and the evenings. No one can contact me during my meditation. My phone's away, and I'm just with my brain." And so how do you were chipped away with some confidence, and how did you bring it and find it to strengthen?
I mean, I could line up with your meditation framework, but I tell you, for me, it was a long time in the deep valley of despair,
Everyone's different.
Everybody is different. But I had to build it back, and I give a lot of credit for all the self-help authors I read.
Love that.
So anyway, I mean, I don't know if you know Dr. Wayne Dyer. And
It rings a bell.
Yeah, and these are all the spiritual gurus who would talk about how to live your life. That's where I picked up on stepping back, retreating a little bit, going into yourself. That's where I learned self-awareness, right?
Loving yourself.
Loving yourself.
Which people don't really, and I think people need to be single and not codependent for a period in their life to really understand who they are.
Yes.
Like, I've traveled the world just by myself.
Okay.
And I've been to Spain plenty of times, other countries, Oktoberfest by myself in Germany, and I love who I am.
Yes.
I can hang out with myself. I don't need other people to validate that.
You
and
sound
I think,
like me.
and you get to a different point when you have that type of mindset.
You sounded so much like me there.
Yeah?
I like being myself. I'm
I
an
do too.
introvert, and people find it odd when I tell them as a
I am
professional
too, but we have to be an extrovert.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, these self-help books, I read a lot, and I read only because I felt completely stuck. So while my early career was fine, somewhere there, and my father had always said, hard work, there's no substitute for hard work. So I worked and worked. But I kept thinking I was missing that career acceleration that I was seeing others get by. But people I trained were getting ahead and I wasn't. And I didn't quite figure out.
That feeling's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Because then you look back at yourself and you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? Do I need to do something different? And what I have learned is that we have our own journey of life. We have our own journey of success. And we need to be comfortable with patience.
Correct.
Because our time will come when our time is ready to.
Oh, so true. Our time will come, but when you're young and restless.
Yeah, I know.
But I remember, but that was such a good point. But you're right. At that time, if somebody told me, Vidya, be patient, I probably would not have picked up and done something. I was just sad about how did my career get to this point?
Yeah.
And I know I'm competent because I produce results. I was in technology. So I started off as a programmer, and kept delivering, but somehow I wasn't connecting, and I didn't quite know what that was. So those books I mentioned helped me understand self-awareness, helped me understand relationship building, because I was terrible. See, that's the kind of stuff you don't learn in schools.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I had learned how to excel in my job, but I did not know how to excel in emotional intelligence related.
And how to manage the feelings.
The feelings.
Your own feelings going through that. College. I don't think college will ever be able to teach that, because that is your mind, your body in a certain given moment of your journey of life, and with the pressure, with the stress, and how you react is going to determine if, maybe or not, you're going to be successful. So college, I don't think college can prepare someone for that.
No, it can't.
It's only true life experiences.
Right. So when I was in that valley of despair, it's me taking action is where that confidence came back. So just when I felt like I hit a roadblock, I said, I'm doing something. I was actually mad at my boss at that time for not getting a promotion. And I went and joined Toastmasters for communication and leadership. And I had the most welcoming group. I mean, talk about people who really cared about your success. So
Yeah.
in a way, that was the most nurturing. I felt I had a group of friends. We would go out. We would
Who are genuine.
Genuine.
And they're not trying to compete with you or knock you down. They're going to give you constructive criticism, which we
Right.
all need, but they actually truly want to see you succeed.
100%. And that particular group truly cared. And they would give me, and I knew I had to give back. So when new members would come, I would mentor them. But anyway, so when people started seeing how I spoke, and suddenly, after feeling beaten down at work, hear the compliments, I'm like, am I the same person? Like, why am I being perceived differently here? Yeah. That's when the confidence build-up started again. I said, I'm not that bad. I deserve to get ahead. So what can I do differently? And that's when I really fine-tuned my emotional intelligence pillars, so to speak. I figured out how I was communicating, where were my shortcomings. Sometimes if you come from an immigrant community like I did, we tend to be very direct communicators.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that's not looked upon kindly in the corporate world.
Oh, it's definitely not. They feel like you're being rude. They're feeling like you disrespect. But it's not anything with that individual. It's just their culture. And I've learned that because we have investors from all different backgrounds. And I know some, when I pick up the phone, I know how direct they want to be. It's not, hey, how are you today?
Yes.
It's strictly business the second you pick up the phone. And then there's other ones that for the first 20 minutes, they want to get to know you or check how you're doing, see how your son's doing, family. But yeah, it's definitely a big culture. In the Indian community too, it is direct.
Very direct.
Yes.
And then I realized, so when I would write emails, I was so productivity driven, like I wanted results. So I would just ask my question. And now somewhere there I learned you have to add fluff around it. So I would write my direct line and then I would write around it.
Fluff.
Yes.
Yep.
And smoothen out the message. And it came into my verbal expression. Everything softened.
And I think as a leader, I have to do that.
Yes.
Because one thing I do with the team is they've taken the DISC test and the 5 love language test.
Yes.
And so I'm able to understand because I'm very direct.
Yes.
And so if I know you're not that way or you cannot receive a message that way, I tailor my message to you or my email, however, in the way that you're going to understand it and learn. Because the last thing I want as a leader is I'm going to give you a message and you shut down right away mentally.
Yes.
You may not understand how to control it at that given moment or have practiced to learn to control it. But that's one thing as a leader I've been working on substantially is my communication, understanding who I'm speaking to and making sure I'm tailoring it to them.
Oh, that's a most important leadership trait. So when I used to give feedback in the corporate world as a leader, I had to know who I'm walking into the room to give a performance evaluation for. And if you don't do that, there's no one size fits all in leadership and how you communicate with people. People have different expectations.
There's so many different type of, I love leadership books, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You can learn things from other type of leaders. However, there's not a consistent playbook.
There is not.
Because people have feelings, they're all different. There's no consistent playbook on how you should lead.
By the way, there are differences even in the U.S., right? Somebody coming from the Northeast
Oh,
tends to be much more direct than the South.
My God, yeah.
I have met my coworkers in my old job from Boston, and they would say their biggest fear was in the South, people would just break into tears when they were getting direct feedback. And they had to recalibrate and say, how do I speak,
Yeah.
They had to pull back because they were shocked because messaging didn't work the same way.
And you're talking a 2-hour plane ride from Charlotte to, to Boston.
Yes.
Just 2-hour difference by a plane. It's a totally different community.
It's a totally different community. But anyway, people, the vast majority in corporate America today, the people who are very smart, very competent, absolutely have no idea, just like how I was, on what to do next, how to get unstuck. And that's why you have this high level of disengagement at work. So in my case, the only thing is I did self-diagnosis, went to Toastmasters, got the feedback, and somebody there told me you should do more of this, that is right after a speech in your day job. And that came from somebody I really respected. And I told myself, how will I do speaking in my job as a programmer? Because I was a back office employee.
Yeah.
But it stayed with me, and I figured out where and how to speak to a leader in the company and get the gig I wanted. So this is the proactive stuff. And there, amazing leader. She was the one who said, I have an open door policy, and I walked right in and I told her, I love public speaking. I want to do this more. Can I facilitate a brainstorming session? And of course, she told me a few things, stipulations on what not to do and stuff like that. And I said, I'll do it. Well prepared. I came in there, and the way I managed those meetings was such a big hit that I knew I found my calling. And slowly but surely, I moved into leadership. I got out of technology because I felt I hit a wall.
Yeah.
And I'm saying all this not to impress anybody, but to say, if you feel stuck, there is a way. Just listen to the feedback you're getting. Because perception matters, how people see you matters. And then you know how to fix what is being perceived as a weakness.
Yeah.
So then I moved into another area. I moved into leadership. I kept climbing. It's only because of self-awareness.
I think the big thing is, I love that you took action from that self-awareness. But the one statement you said is when what people perceive of you, you should listen. I think surrounding yourself with a very good, strong core group. Because you have children, I have a child. When you tell him something or her something directly, they may not listen to you because you're dad and mom. But if the other or if a grandma says something, they listen to grandma.
Yes.
But because it's directly. So where I'm going at with all this is that surrounding yourself with a very core group where you can be honest and they can give you constructive criticism on, hey, this is what I'm seeing going on. You may want to take this or not.
100%. In fact, you tell people, if you're afraid to go to your boss for feedback, ask your peers in your company.
Yeah.
Let them watch you in a meeting and see how you come across. Are you a chronic interrupter?
Yeah.
Because people don't realize. They say, I'm doing everything right. Why am I stuck? People are going to tell you how you're being perceived. You need people you can trust, your close friends.
And if you find a consistency among that, then there you go.
There you go.
You need to fix it. If there's inconsistency among it, I think that's where you go back to the drawing board. But if you find that consistency, that 4 or 5 friends are saying the same thing but in a different way, that's when you go back and say, okay, I've nailed down my problem.
Exactly.
I need to fix
it. Yeah, please don't look at a one-off comment and change the way you are.
Everything. You can't.
You cannot.
And you'll never operate a big business if one person says something and you're like, okay, I need to change everything. Then that's not a business. That's their business.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Right.
So you got into the leadership and the coaching. I'm very interested in hearing with all of the individuals you've coached, a lot being former 500 leaders. What consistency did you find as issues amongst them all?
Yeah. I mean, I have various levels of leadership people in my coaching program. Everybody has a deep insecurity about themselves, right? And they all have hit a roadblock. Just like I hit a roadblock, they've all hit a roadblock. They're a little unsure about, why do I feel like I'm stuck? So I just get people unstuck. And pretty much those topics that I cover in my coaching is what I cover also in my presentations. I'm a keynote speaker.
Yeah.
I talk about the same topics. Foundationally, what is most important is how you think.
Mindset's everything.
Mindset is everything. Before you get to communication, how do you think?
I don't mean to interrupt. My famous statement or slogan that someone has said, which is Warren Buffett, and it was one of his documentaries. He was speaking to a class. He said, any car you can have in the world, what car would it be? And they threw out all these different type of cars. He says, okay, but the caveat is you have to keep that car for the rest of your life. You cannot trade it in. You can't use anything else. You have to use it. How would you treat that car? Right. You treat it like a baby.
Correct.
Oil change, maintenance, everything on the time.
Exactly.
Well, you only have one mind. Why don't you take care of it?
Yes.
And that, when I watched that documentary, and I still watch about 3 times a year because I always learn something from it, it dawned on me, and that's when I really got big into my health kick of watching what I eat, eating only organic foods, eating grass-fed, grass-finished foods, no processed foods, no dyes, nothing, because you only have one mind. And why not pour it with wonderful information? Because in the journey of success, mindset is extremely important.
Oh, yeah. Have you noticed, like, if you don't think clearly, and if you have negativity inside and you think, I'm faking it now, and I'm going to look happy, people can pick up your vibes.
Your energy. That's why I said when you are very confident, not only by how you speak, but your energy that I'm feeling, I'm gathering. It's just like that one person that walks in the room and you're like, whoa, like you could feel the energy that comes with them.
Thank you. I always say, what is inside you will leak out.
Oh, it even leaks out over text message and email. It's funny, over an email you can sense, whoa, this person's upset, or hey, like this person, is not having a good day. You can feel that even over an email.
Right. I actually I have a presentation titled "Read the Room: Observation Skills to Get You Advance Your Career."
Yeah.
The reason is people don't read the room; they're so into their own heads.
Yeah.
They don't realize they're getting so much information from the room and people because they are leaking information, and you got to read between the lines. You got to know what's not being said, and people lack that
Oh my God, yeah.
completely because they all like everybody is thinking, "Do I come across smart? Am I coming across competent?" I would say your early meetings, just stop and watch people. People watching should become one of your key goals
Yeah.
because you'll pick up on vibes and you'll know exactly how to work with somebody. So in relationship building. So I used to, in fact, in my speech, I say become Sherlock Holmes because you will pick up on clues because people don't realize that they're very polished on the exterior, but you can pick up vibes that they are not too happy about something. And look for omissions, hear for omissions, and there's your clue.
Yeah.
You know?
So when I speak to the younger generation, one of my biggest advices to them is learn how to speak. I think that will go a very long way. I
Yes.
think it will also bring confidence. It can increase sales substantially. I said David Rubenstein, the founder of Carlyle Group. I watched all of his Bloomsburg interviews
Right.
of leaders. Barack Obama, he can speak extremely well, whether if you like him or not. Politics aside, you can't. In my opinion, you cannot disagree that he speaks very well. He's very polished. He
Right.
knows how to speak,
Right.
and he draws a crowd when he starts speaking because of his confidence that he has in his voice.
Yes.
And that's one of my biggest advices I give to the younger generation is learn how to speak, learn how to polish and tailor your sentences, because it will help you when you're out in the real world.
What's your experience been with the young people today? Do you feel because everybody everybody thinks like with the text messaging, there's less phone calls happening these days.
I'm seeing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I think sometimes especially with COVID, where the interaction of young people in high school or college, they missed out on a big window, right? Social interactions. What do you feel? What has been your experience when you talk to young people today? Are they craving communication training? What is it that...
That's a great question. I think in different scenarios, it's extremely difficult to have an in-person conversation. Men are very rarely are meeting women in person and
That's
can
right.
hold a high-level conversation to try to ask her on a date.
Exactly.
It's only asking through a cell phone or device, which is a barrier. So I think over time, it's only going to get more challenging.
Yes.
I think especially with AI and ChatGPT, it's only going to get more challenging because people are going to have another identity, essentially,
Right.
which will be challenging. You have to adapt with the times.
Yes.
I do feel that with technology and I feel that the level of communication is changing more towards video.
Okay.
I've noticed this. So when I
Yes.
go into an airport, I look at everyone's on their phone now.
Oh,
They're
yes.
like this. But I look, and I'm if you see me in an airport, hide your phones or get a privacy screen because I'm looking at what you're doing because I'm curious. I'm studying and I'm analyzing what are these people doing. And I think a new form of communication is FaceTime.
Yes.
I said this with my business partner who was in here earlier, is that the new form of communication across Samsung, iPhones, and other
Yes.
Google devices, FaceTime needs to be a strict form, just like phone call and text message.
Right.
Because I'm noticing that, hey, I'd rather FaceTime you instead of hop on a phone or text you. So I'm seeing FaceTime as a go-to.
Which is a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, that face-to-face. I think that's great. So I'm definitely seeing FaceTime as a go-to, but I'm very curious on how AI is going to impact I would say the mindset of the younger generation on their communication and their abilities. That's why I always tell the younger generation, if they ask for advice, is learn how to speak. Because you behind a computer or AI is writing your scripts or text messages, you're not able to speak clearly in person. And I think that one-on-one touch in person with a high-level conversation will still go very, very far.
And actually, that may become your competitive advantage.
Yeah.
When everybody else is losing a couple of gray cells because AI is writing your stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to speak, and in communication training, the one most important thing is speak in frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
Have a framework in mind. When somebody asks you a question, choose a couple of frameworks because if you don't, what happens is you go off on tangents.
Correct.
And then suddenly you're like so off course, and you're like, what was the question again?
Yeah, I've done that plenty of times.
Oh, yeah. We all do it in wake moments. So, I tell you one thing about AI. ChatGPT, I lean on it too.
I do too.
But when I speak to young people, when I give presentations to young professionals, I'm doing that in Charlotte coming up. But I just want people to know, don't lean so heavily on the very sterile ChatGPT language.
Yeah.
Because people are now becoming so savvy, you can pick up on what's written by ChatGPT.
My business partner before you came in here, he said the same exact thing. He said on LinkedIn, you can read it and say, yeah, that was ChatGPT.
Yeah. And this is like when you put filters on your video.
Yeah.
The same way, if you put amazing content on LinkedIn, I tend to be heavy on LinkedIn. And when people speak to you or see your writing in office emails, you're like, you couldn't have written that.
Yeah.
I am so happy I authored my book before ChatGPT came on.
Yes.
Because I don't know what the temptation would have been to lean on ChatGPT.
Oh, I know.
But
I mean, it could write a whole book for you.
It can write a book for you.
It's unbelievable.
I'm so glad, because when people read my book, they said, oh, we could hear you, Vidya.
Yeah.
But the thing is, make sure you don't sound fake, sound real. And by the way, that becomes your competitive advantage, that little authenticity, that freedom. Be you. And honestly, when you talked about Barack Obama and for speaking, right? Do you know the smart perfection can actually kill you? If you sound too precise,
Oh, yeah.
people may actually feel a little threatened by you.
Yeah.
So in a way, come across a little less polished. It's a weird advice because I call
I believe that.
The tallest poppy syndrome is if you shine too much, somebody in the corporate world is coming for you.
So I used to, and you'll probably be able to speak on this highly. I used to wear suits 7 days a week.
Okay.
7 days a week, suit and tie. And I love them. I love them. I adore them. I wish I could wear them now.
Right.
However, my investors who have sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of companies, all different individuals, they don't wear suits.
Right.
And my first couple meetings, I walked in suits, and I felt like I overpowered them, even though they're worth $200 million. and I said to myself, I can't do this. And so now I just wear all black.
Yes.
And because all of our investors are different. Right. Some are tattoos from the neck down, and you're like, oh, I wouldn't even expect this gentleman to sell a tech company. Right. But he sold a tech company. And some are flip-flops, T-shirt, and a cup of coffee in their hand.
Right.
So it's all different.
It's all different.
And especially in the corporate world, I've seen that change where it was suit and tie, then it's now business casual. You don't have to wear a tie.
Right.
And even, in the Washington, D.C., they've come out with proposals to change some of that stuff too.
Right. So it's how you look. Now, I do believe dressing well. Now, you talked about in terms of dressing, you don't want to overpower anybody.
Correct. But you can never be overdressed.
You can never be overdressed.
I've learned.
Yeah.
Never.
But if you dress, now depending on where you are in the hierarchy, correct. If you dress like, say, a very confident CEO in a black T-shirt, it may backfire because there's something called enclothed cognition. You have to give a certain personality of a professional in the corporate world. Now, that's my primary audience.
In the corporate world.
Yes. And when you dress your part, not only do people perceive you as somebody, you also see yourself as somebody.
Oh, very much. It makes you feel phenomenal.
Yes. Otherwise, what happens is you think like, oh, I don't look the part. Is my hair out of place? I just came out of the gym and I'm sweating now.
But is that also a mindset and self-confidence?
It could be. It could be. Now, if you have trained yourself to be self-confident no matter what, fine. But if you haven't done that, get a little assistance from the clothes you wear, and that'll help you.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Just a quick reminder to make sure you never miss an episode. Stay connected with us by following us on social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok at Chris_Salerno_. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube to catch the video versions of our episode. You'll get exclusive content, behind-the-scenes footage, and much more. Head over to YouTube, Chris_Salerno now, and hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned because we've got more great content coming right after this.
And I think where this conversation is, it starts with your mind. You got to build the self-confidence. You got to have that internally. And yes, trust me, when I put on a suit, I love it because I feel good. I look good. And so clothing, even the car you drive, I'm a very firm believer the car you drive will bring you confidence.
Yes.
And And those little things, even how you position your home,
Yes.
with certain plants. I'm a huge believer that if you come to my house in Ballantyne, I have plants in my house.
Okay.
And the reason why in strategic locations, and I even have a strategic smell
Yes.
that throughout my house
Environment.
because it changes your mind.
Oh.
And it prepares you for success.
I believe that. Environment just changes everything.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes, but I feel confidence. Now, when you come back to the term confidence, you can't just snap a button and say, okay, I'm confident today. It's a slow building process where you have to see some results, right?
Yeah.
So work consistency with first intentionality. Set the intention in the morning. Figure out how you're going to show up today. Then do something, be consistent, see the results. Celebrate your small wins, and suddenly, before you know it, like you think I spoke confidently like this during those deep valley of despair days? I did not, because I really thought I wasn't worth it and something is wrong with me. I doubted myself. So I think take action every day. Be courageous, because people are not bold. They tend to avoid risk, and when you avoid risk, you stagnate. And do something unusual. Step outside your comfort zone. Be different from your competition. Don't blend in. By the way, people think everybody has to speak the same, have corporate speak.
Yeah.
In a way, you're going to be forgotten.
Oh, you will.
Yes. So be brave. Once in a while, take a chance. It may work, it may not work, but take a chance.
Yeah.
And I feel those are the people who step out. But obviously, connection, build those relationships.
100%.
And it changes. You need a tribe.
Yeah. A
supporting you.
tight-knit circle.
Yes.
100%. So in your book, Lucky You touch on some turning point potentials into progress when it comes to mindset, shifting, do you believe, or with your mindset shifts, do you believe that, what are the most crucial advances with those mindset shifts for someone's career?
Right. So I was initially during COVID, by the way, when we were all home.
You gotta love it.
I had to really rethink, you ever heard the term ikigai? Like, what is your, it's that intersection. How do you find purpose and fulfillment in your life?
Yep.
So it's that intersection of what you love, what you're good at, and what does the world need now, and will you get paid for it? So I knew I'd done so many years of corporate America. I was trying to find who I was. But I also had some negative traits. I tend to lean negative very quickly.
Okay.
So I would see things as like catastrophic. My God.
So I'm the complete opposite.
Oh.
It could be the world burning, and I'll give you a positive.
Very good.
I will only find the positive. If you came to me with a negative situation, I'm gonna say, well, the positive's this.
So you found the silver linings,
Yeah.
which is such a leg up on most people. So what I did in the mindset,
I think we're wired. Our mind's mentally wired for that. Is negative.
we are wired for negative, but you can rewire your
Oh,
brain.
100%. I think you can definitely. Your brain is the strongest part of your body, in my opinion, and you can control it. And I'm always for ways to tap into other parts that we don't use. But organically, I think our mind is wired. That's why if you look at the news, horror movies always do the best, because that's where our mind is wired
lean
for.
that way.
Yeah.
But, so in my journey, in mindset shift, I started journaling.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I wasn't consistent with long-form journaling, so I took in the 5-minute journal.
Short?
And
Okay.
5-minute journal was just prompts for gratitude, setting the intention for the day, and I learned to see the positive. So my goal every day was find a positive.
Did
So
you do morning and evening?
I did morning and evening, but I was more consistent with morning than evening.
morning, yeah.
I'm a morning person. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I love it.
So I did that, and I noticed I thought, do I believe this theory of rewiring your brain and neuroplasticity? And I said, let me give it a shot.
Yeah.
I could see it. I could find silver linings. I could see the positive. And once that happened, remember I told you you're leaking information?
Oh, yeah.
I shifted the whole vibe. So in meetings, people would say, Vidya, I'd like to come to your meetings because you keep it so joyous, and in a busy, stressful project. Mm-hmm. How did I do it? Because I felt it inside. So whatever is inside will come out. So make sure your inside is trained for the positive. So you're oozing positivity so that when under stressful situations, you don't start yelling or crying or whatever your emotional trigger is.
What would be the best recommendation, in your opinion, to help people practice that? Like for me, it's meditation.
Yes.
That's where I tell everyone I'm available 24/7. However, there's that 1 hour that my phone is away.
Yes.
No one bothers me. I'm in my own head. and I'm telling my body, myself, what I can do better. Sometimes I don't do anything. I just focus on breath work. What do you feel, in your opinion, would be that great recommendation on a couple things to help people really get deep with themselves?
Right. First and foremost, if you have a habit of waking up in the morning and looking at your phone to see what email messages, that's the wrong thing to do. Sitting quietly by yourself, doing breath work is good. But what I did a lot during the early years when I didn't have meditation, I didn't know how to do it, but I would know thoughts would come into your mind and it'll flow off, all that stuff. But I watch only inspirational, spiritual videos and talks.
That. Yep.
So YouTube is the most used channel in my house, and I'm watching spiritual stuff. I wake up at 4, sometimes 3:30. It's obnoxious, I know.
I love it.
I sit for 2 hours. I have time now, so I couldn't do it for 2 hours when I was working full time. But I love listening to inspirational stuff. I keep negativity out. So your brain is primed for that. So I say the simplest thing you do, wake up, do not pick up your phone to read messages. Just sit with positive stuff and sit quietly.
I love that.
Journal.
Most definitely. And for those that, may say, hey, I'm not waking up at 4:30 or 3 o'clock. And yes, I work a 9 to 5. On your commute to work, you can throw an audiobook. You can go on YouTube. Instead of listening to music, you can listen to positive motivational speeches or talks about your industry or anything. And I recommend doing it even if it's low with the kids in the car. Because psychologically, you will pick up on what you're hearing, whether if it's loud, but you have to have it to where you can hear it a little bit. But I recommend doing that with the kids because I've done that with my son, and I'm just by stepping back and seeing his actions, I've known he's picked up on some of the stuff I've put on in the car and his body language, his motivation. For example, we don't say can't in our house. I don't know what the definition of that is. I've never learned the definition. I don't care to learn the definition, but we don't use that word in our house. And he used it once, and then I caught him on it. He's never used that word again, ever. And
That's so brilliant. I never thought about it when I was raising my children.
Yeah.
But, you're so right. You're priming. You don't even realize when you keep listening to in the background, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Even if your mind is so remarkable, and that's why I love it, is because even if it was just on the background, you are still intaking that information in. And as a child, they may not want to listen to classical music or listen to that very loud. But if it's just down and then you're talking to them, their mind is still absorbing.
It is. When my kids were younger, I used to have C-SPAN on, and I would have Congress in Action, and there would be this call-in show in the morning. This was way before the internet things. My son now has a very high knowledge of how the government works and all that, only because he was having his breakfast before school and he was listening to Mom's show.
On the background.
In the background. So he learned a lot through osmosis. It was just there.
Yeah. It's remarkable of how the mind operates.
Right.
And I'm so fascinating with it. I had pleasure last night to have dinner with some very high marketing individuals in Charlotte. And I told him, I said, what fascinates me is that, I want to know, why did you choose the food you choose? At dinner tonight. Why did you choose to order that drink? Like, that's where my mind goes, is what in that individual gets them attracted to that drink or that food.
Right.
And that's how you can better marketing throughout social media and throughout your business. Because at the end of the day, your business is all about marketing these days.
100%.
How can you get in front of mass people to generate more sales in your business?
Marketing, can I tell you, I knew nothing about marketing till I started my own business.
Okay.
And things I love to do, I love to watch marketing videos, learn from them, and use it in my video editing of my YouTube channel.
Love it.
And I mean, I have nobody helping me, but I sit there with Microsoft Clipchamp, and I'm like, this is impressive. This is going to attract people's attention because it's all human psychology.
That's it.
It's all human psychology,
I know.
and everything has to be what is it that they want to hear, right? That's how you approach everything.
Most definitely. So these kids, and I think if you're looking for the next business venture, you study the younger generation. For example, my son, he's 5 years old. There's a show that was called Blippi.
Okay.
And Blippi sold to a private equity company for $75 million. And I studied Blippi. I studied his brand while my son watched it when he was like 3 years old. So I studied, how are they getting his attention? And then there's sometimes I'm lasered on the screen. I'm like, whoa. They got my mind to lock in.
Yes.
And so what colors did they use? What shapes did they use? How was their energy through the videos to get and lock in the child's attention?
Yes.
And then now look, he sold it to $75 million to private equity. So I think really understanding that will help you become a better marketer for any type of business you are. First, you got to understand your customers. Then you got to understand how to grab their attention, because like we said earlier, it's moving so fast.
It is moving so fast. Yeah. But it's so interesting as a parent. First of all, adults love many of the kids' movies that Disney made or Pixar made.
Yeah.
Because I always feel the kids saw it at one level, we saw it at another level.
When I'm watching some of these movies he's watching now, and I catch up on it, I was like, oh my God, they're smoking weed. I was like, I didn't know that as a kid. They're hotboxing a car.
Yes.
And I'm like, holy cow,
there's something for everybody.
I was watching the Minions, and they were eating magical mushrooms, getting high. And I was like, that's what they're doing, those Minions. But when I was a kid, I was like, it didn't dawn on me.
Didn't dawn on it. So it's good. It keeps the kids entertained and the parents entertained. But how smart is that industry?
Oh,
right?
Yeah. That you have to tap into the mind on making sure you can keep a grown adult attained, but not giving too much information where it's it's not good for the younger generation because they don't understand it.
There's so much intelligence. Now when I watch YouTube channels, I'm like, oh, this is what they thought of. Like I can see the inside story.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So we talked about relationships and connections. How important do you feel through your coaching ability and clients that you've had that you've really stressed, hey, you need to build these relationships and connections?
Right. So there's a pattern that I see. The people I tend to get as clients, they tend to be doers. They love very high achievers, want the best results. They are dreamers. They just work, produce, and they think that should be it. But I'm like, you know what? There are people who will argue this point with me. Like, isn't this important? I'm like, yeah, there's a balance between competence, results, and connection with people. Because what if nobody else is impressed and you think you're doing all this? So doer versus, they say I should just be a promoter or a poser. I'm like, yes, you should. Sadly, that's the truth. You need everything. Initially, if something feels fake, I say, okay, fake it till you make it, but build that. So I teach people small talk tricks. Like how do you get into a networking event and not be completely awkward because you're an introvert? And how do you build connections? A lot of leaders, senior leaders in companies, if you notice, they're terrible at speaking with that connection with their people. They speak in numbers and facts and graphs and zero connection. So people don't love them, right? So I've seen both extremes. I've seen some who just spend way too much time trying to connect, and in a way the business fails. So you've got to balance the optimal mix. But so relationships is everything, how you connect with people. And all you have to do is listen, show respect. People half the time are so disrespectful because they're not listening.
Yeah.
And people pick up on that. They pick up because you went off track. That means you didn't listen to my words didn't have any value for you. I'm like, the first thing you do is you listen, and then you build your credibility with your actions. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Yeah. So these are the ways you build connections, and then of course use anything to do with building influence in a company. What does it take? It takes you helping other people. Then they feel inclined to reciprocate. Reciprocity. Then the other way to build influence in the corporate world is showcase your authority. You may not have a title, but showcase your authority on a subject. What are you good at? Yeah. Some people feel like, oh, I'm humble, right? Humility is a good value, but be very careful. Nobody's going to pick up on things. You have to showcase your talent, your authority. And then, of course, it's reciprocity, and of course be likable, but within boundaries. Likability can hurt you. If you're too likable, you're treated like a doormat, So you have to...
Very much so. Because the corporate world can be cutthroat.
Oh, they can be.
Especially when you walk over to my world of private equity in the finance industry.
Right.
They'll eat you up, spit you out, and keep going.
Right. So likability, I call it a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You need that to build connection, but don't overdo it because then you lose your credibility, and then they don't think you have it in you. Because they feel you're overpowering. Maybe you're not competent enough, so you're trying to be too nice. So there's that walking on eggshells, fine balance.
Very much so. No, I definitely agree with you. One of the questions I have here, that really hits me when I was having the team put this together, is what does fulfillment look like to you now compared to when you were working in the corporate world?
Oh, yes. So we all have different domains in our, So we have your work life, you have your health, you talk about health.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about your family and your relationships, and even your own quiet time, relaxation and recreation. What do you do? So you got to look at every phase in your life. Like I know when I was a parent, my only two domains at that time were my kids and my job because I had to provide, right? So those two were the strong domains. Like as I got older and now where I am is my domains have shifted. Like recreation is a big part of my life now. Like I love my husband and we travel a lot. We travel internationally. I always think I paid my dues. I worked crazy hard. So now I call it my speaking gig. All my speaking gigs is my passion project. I'm passionate about speaking. I'm passionate about helping others have better lives. So it's my passion for my job. Now, in terms of income and work, I'm not as focused because it's shifted for me now.
Yeah.
So now I'm focused on family. I'm focused on my passion project and traveling and recreation.
I love that.
So it's like you got to know your definition of success. So what is fulfillment? It depends. Like everybody's definition of success is different. So if Maya Angelou had a quote, I hope I don't butcher the quote. It's success is liking who you are. Success is liking what you do and how you do it.
Yep.
So
I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's not so much about your big fat paycheck or what people think of you. At the end of the day, do you like who you are? Do you like what you do and how you do it? Very often, many of those answers will be like, no, I'm chasing something. The question is, what are you chasing and why are you chasing it?
And I think it's
a purpose, right? Yeah.
It is very much so, and it's who you're surrounded with too.
Right.
It makes the journey fun.
If
you have really good people, a really good team, a company that you can joke with, you can have a good time with, it makes the journey enjoyable. Where if you don't, it's not fun.
It's not fun.
No.
This relationship question you asked me, this is where people forget. You hear language like, oh, toxic work environment, dysfunctional company. I'm like, and how are you contributing to that? You should be building relationships, creating
Bring the positive energy inside.
Bring the positive energy. Create friends. Friendship, not co-workers, friends. You know what? Then you're excited to come and meet your friends at work.
Oh, my God, yeah.
It
you
changes.
look forward to coming to the office. I wake up, I don't want to stay at my house. I look forward to get to the office.
Right.
I just enjoy it. It's my cockpit because I like to say I'm a big F1 fan, so I like to say that I build the team with the F1 type of mindset. Right. Even when I travel, if I'm I would say more than 3 days away from my office, I get anxiety. I'm like, I need to get back into the office.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love your F1, by the way. I have a family full of F1 fans.
Oh, do you? Well, we all have to hang out. So I got hooked onto F1 through the Drive to Survive documentary.
Right.
And I saw it a lot to business. Because F1, there's so much data that's going on every second in those cars. Hundreds of thousands of data goes back to individuals that are at their corporate headquarters and at the race that current day. And not only that, then it comes down to strategy. If you're off by a couple seconds of a pit stop or your strategy, you're done. You lose the race and you lose millions of dollars.
Right.
And if your strategy's on point, if you say, hey, we built this strategy out, oh wait, we need to pivot, or hey, our strategy's doing very well, we won, it's that accomplishment feeling.
Yes.
And then you just never know. It's just like business because rain may come. It's not on the map now, but in 10 minutes, it is now. It's starting to rain. And then now you got to move your strategy. You got to pivot. Right. And that's why I fell in love with it, is because it's actually business. It's real world life. But you're also going 200 miles an hour down to 40, and sometimes you hit a wall. And that's what life in entrepreneurship is too.
It's so important. And the other thing I can see related to that, people tend to be too fragile, right? In fact, that can hurt you in your climb because you've got to anticipate. In a way, all the knocks in life are so important to build that resilience. So in a way, I call the corporate life just like it's called the Game of Thrones, where people are looking to push you out, stab you in the back, no matter what. you are adapting
Yep.
and coming back to say, this is a battle and I'm going to win this, and come with a strategy.
Oh my
and
God, yeah.
You are becoming so resilient, and you're going to be so grateful because when you move to your next job, you're going to say, this corporate life helped me to start my business.
Correct, yeah.
It made me resilient.
It helped
made me,
launch you.
It helped launch
Yeah.
you. Because if everything was easy and you say, oh, they're all so toxic, what have you done to adapt
Yeah.
to the reality of life?
Very much so. And to touch on that, there's one famous clip with Alonso. He's a race car driver. He was driving and he did a very aggressive move and he won. And he went on the radio and he said, I can do that because I don't have kids at home. Meaning the other driver has a child. And so mentally, he's softer.
Right.
He's not going to take that turn as hard because he has kids at home, where he did not. He's willing to take the risk. And
Wow.
that's in business too. You have to understand what's the risk and the reward.
You have to know your risks, absolutely. And there are constraints, and work around with the constraints, right? And sometimes people hold themselves back during those, when your kids are growing up, and not pushing for that promotion or pushing, because your financial security matters at that time.
I've talked to a lot of individuals and they sit back and they're like, okay, well, I'm at the point where I want to give everything to my child. So I'm de-risk everything. I don't want anything that involves risk.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that's great, but you're not going to get a high return, because that's what correlates a high return is you got to be a little risky. But I have noticed people who just have a child and their whole business strategy, philosophy changes.
Right.
And is that good? Hey, everyone, it's their own journey of life. It may be good for them. I'm not, not knocking it. I think there's definitely a fine balance where you have to understand what's the risk and reward.
Given my age and where I am right now, let me tell you one thing. If people completely give up on taking a risk, there's a huge cost to inaction.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to actually say, am I being sane here or overly risk averse, right? That's the question you have to ask. Is this a sane choice, or this is just being very emotional about your decisions?
I've always said the biggest failure in individuals is them not actually trying and failing. It's them doubting themselves to even try.
Yes.
That's the biggest failure.
Right.
Is them getting in their mind, because their mind is not strong,
Yes.
to say, should I do this? I don't know. It's a little too risky. I don't know if I want to take the leap. It's their mind. And if you do not have a strong mindset to power through tough time, lawsuits, anything like that, you're not going to find huge success in business.
Right. And one of the questions, always ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Because people just imagine scenarios that will never happen.
Like they're going to die.
Yeah.
And it's, come on.
And you can preempt all the doubts. Take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down.
Yeah.
What are the risks? What can you do to preempt it? What can you do if it were to happen? How could you recover?
Yeah.
Some sanity check would help you become more taking risks. At least standing up to challenges, as opposed to saying, "I don't want any of that." Right? And I tell you one thing: with AI, what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Yeah.
You have to take chances. You have to take risks.
I love challenges, and
Right.
and anytime a challenge is presented to me, I say I want to hit it head on.
Yes.
I'm not going to go around it. I'm going straight forward, because it's going to strengthen you for future challenges. Because
Right.
you're going to have challenges in any business. It's coming.
It's coming.
You need to be able to accept that and be able to move through them.
For you pretty good. For me, all my lessons were hard-learned lessons.
Yeah.
It came later in life. So kudos to you, Chris.
I appreciate it. I will say I've taken your advice that you said, early on. I've watched YouTube videos. My biggest thing is that there's other people that have gotten very far in their journey of life at a very quicker time frame too than I am. However, I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to learn from their mistakes so I don't make those mistakes. I'm going to limit them. I have coaches, mentors,
Right.
Great people in my group that are well beyond where I'm currently at. And if I have something come up, I get their advice.
Right.
And I think that's what the younger generation, I think that's what all business owners should do, no matter how old you are and what type of business you're in, is keep expanding your knowledge.
Exactly. Coaching, mentorship. So sometimes I think I'm less of a coach and more of a mentor, because I try to speed up people's acceleration, because I've lived there, I've been there, been there, done that kind of a thing. And it helps them get perspectives, like, oh, she's done it before.
Yeah.
This is going to work for me. But people don't necessarily lean on coaching and mentorship.
They don't.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, which is mind-boggling. You're willing to go to a college, to spend, tuition's going up these
Yes,
days.
yes.
You're willing to go to college, depending on whatever career you want to jump into, you may not know, to spend 40, 50, 60,000 per semester. A lot of people don't know that's the only loan you cannot file for bankruptcy against is a student loan.
Okay.
You are forced to pay it back.
Yes.
Who owns student loans? Uncle Sam.
Yes.
So you are locked in.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
You're willing to do that right away, sign your life away. They even lock the family in because as 18 years old, they can only lend you a certain amount. So now they make your parents co-sign. But you're not willing to go get a coach in business.
Mm-hmm.
You're not willing to go find a mentor who's already been down the path that you're trying to go down to limit your mistakes. You're not willing to spend 20 grand for that. But you're okay getting in debt of 60 grand to these days, depending on what type of career you go in, a degree is worthless. I've had people that look to come on to our organization who's been from Harvard. I have not hired them. I don't care. I don't care what degree you have.
Right.
Will I look at it? I'll take a glance at it, but I care about your work ethic. One thing I do is with the leadership team, I will only hire athletes. They're coachable.
Yes.
They know how to work under pressure. I
Right.
can give them a task and they'll get it done.
Yes.
And they know how to work as a team.
Right.
And so that's one thing with the leadership. I will only hire athletes.
That is such a good. Being coachable is such a trait that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about being coachable, and so many people are not coachable.
They're not.
I have experienced it in my own coaching experiences. Like people, they will listen to you and you think they're listening, but they forget those lessons. They don't put it into practice.
I agree. They don't take action on it. And I'm guilty of this. When I was younger, someone would give me advice and I'm like, yeah. Okay. And then now it's like, give me all the advice. I don't care about if you be as mean as you want to me. Like
Right.
I need to understand what you're seeing.
Right.
And my mindset shifted because I got very interested on how the mind works.
Yes.
And how we operate.
Right.
I'm not always going to see it.
Right.
You're going to see it differently and you're going to be right and I'm going to be wrong. And I'm okay to admit that, to then pivot to have success.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, especially as founders of companies, that's your baby. And you don't want people telling you what to do and things like that. But I think if you open up to have a bigger, broader mindset, you'd be remarkable on how quick you can actually grow.
Yeah, actually, they actually set themselves back a few years
They
when
do.
you don't have your coach. And secondly, you need an accountability partner.
Oh my God. yeah.
And that's what I provide because my coaching program is a little different. I let them stay with me for a whole year after those sessions are done because I see how they're implementing how things are going.
Most coaches say, hey, goodbye, have a nice day.
And I'm like, I am watching you, and you come back every Friday afternoon to come and tell me what challenges are you facing because I want to see, are you putting all those coaching sessions into practice?
I love that.
And then new challenges tell me, now I understand their workplace even better, so I can guide them as a mentor.
No, I love that. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Before I wrap things up, how can people get a hold of your book?
Oh, it's on Amazon. It's an easy book. Just Google Lucky You Vidya and you'll be there. It's an easy title.
Yeah.
You should feel lucky. By the way, it's create your own luck.
I love that.
Is why I chose Lucky You. So it's an easy to remember name. Lucky You and Vidya will get you there.
We'll make sure we have that link in the show notes so you guys can go ahead and get yourself a copy. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Let's have a wonderful week.
Thanks. Yes, we should.
Let's do it. All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chris Salerno Show. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insight to help you along your journey. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to cover, feel free to reach out directly to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Chris_Salerno_. Until next time, keep pushing forward and stay inspired.